The wedding gown weighed more than Ilara's future. Ivory silk cascaded to the floor in waves that pooled around her feet like a burial shroud. Seed pearls dotted the bodice in patterns meant to symbolize fertility and fortune. The seamstresses had worked for 3 months to create this masterpiece. Ilara wanted to tear it from her body and set it ablaze. "Stop fidgeting." Her mother's voice was sharp as she adjusted the veil. "You should be grateful. Lord Draven could have chosen any woman in Valdoria." Grateful. The word tasted like ash. Ilara stared at her reflection in the mirror, barely recognizing the pale creature who stared back. Dark circles shadowed her gray eyes despite the powder her handmaids had applied. Her black hair had been twisted into an elaborate arrangement that pulled at her scalp. She looked like a doll. A pretty, lifeless thing to be displayed and used. "The ceremony begins in 1 hour," her mother continued. "Your father is already receiving guests." Lord Draven arrived at dawn with 50 men. 50 men. Not guests. Guards. A show of force to remind everyone that the Ashford family's wealth could crush any who opposed this union. Ilara's hands trembled as she smoothed the silk over her hips. She had met Lord Draven Ashford exactly twice. The first time, she had been 15, presented to him like livestock at a market. He had looked at her with cold assessment, nodded once to her father, and spoken not a single word to her directly. The second time was last night. He had cornered her in the corridor outside her chambers, pressed her against the stone wall, and whispered what he intended to do to her once she was legally his. His breath had smelled of wine and something rotten. "I have waited 8 years for you to ripen," he had said, his fingers digging bruises into her arms. "Tomorrow night, I will finally taste what I've purchased." Ilara had not slept since. "Mother," her voice emerged as barely a whisper. "I cannot do this." The slap came without warning, snapping her head to the side. "You ungrateful child." Her mother's face had gone red with fury. "Do you know what your father sacrificed to secure this match?" Ilara pressed her hand to her stinging cheek, tears blurring her vision. But beneath the pain, something else stirred. That strange sense she had always possessed the ability to feel what others felt, to sense the truth beneath their words. Her mother was afraid. Desperately, terribly afraid. Not for Ilara's happiness, but for something else entirely. "Get yourself composed," her mother snapped. "I will return in half an hour to escort you to the chapel." The door slammed, the lock clicking into place from outside. Ilara stood frozen, listening to her mother's footsteps fade. Then, moving on instinct, she rushed to the window. 3 stories below, the courtyard bustled with activity, and there, near the eastern gate, a small caravan of covered wagons was preparing to depart. Merchants, travelers passing through who had stopped to water their horses. The wagons were heading north, toward the Thornwood Pass. Away from here, away from Draven, away from everything. Ilara's heart hammered against her ribs. The rational part of her mind screamed that this was madness. She had no money, no provisions, and no plan. But if she stayed, she closed her eyes and felt it again, that dark, oily sensation she had experienced last night when Draven pressed against her. Whatever Lord Draven Ashford was, he was not simply a cruel man. He was something worse. "I would rather die in the wilderness than let him touch me again." The decision crystallized in an instant. Ilara tore the veil from her hair, kicked off the delicate slippers, and grabbed the plain servant's cloak hanging near the door. The wedding gown was impossible to remove alone, but she managed to hike up the heavy skirts and tie them in knots around her thighs. The ivy climbing the tower wall was old and thick. Ilara had climbed it as a child, escaping to the gardens when her lessons grew tedious. "Please let it hold my weight." She swung her legs over the ledge and began to climb down. The ivy groaned but held. When her feet touched solid ground, she nearly sobbed with relief. She pulled the cloak around herself and hurried toward the eastern gate. One wagon sat slightly apart from the others, its canvas flap hanging loose. Ilara didn't hesitate. She hoisted herself inside, burrowing between bolts of dark fabric and animal furs. She pulled a heavy pelt over herself completely and pressed her hand over her mouth to muffle her breathing. Minutes passed. An eternity. Then voices. The creak of wood. The wagon lurched as someone climbed onto the driver's seat. A command was barked in a language she didn't recognize, and the wheels began to turn. I did it. The wagon traveled for hours. Ilara drifted in and out of anxious consciousness. The furs were warm, almost unnaturally so, carrying a strange scent, wood smoke and pine and something wild. She was just beginning to believe she might actually escape when the wagon stopped abruptly. Silence. Then footsteps, heavy and deliberate, moving around to the back. The canvas flap was torn aside, and gray daylight flooded her hiding place. A man stood there, tall, impossibly tall, with shoulders broad enough to block out the sky. His dark hair fell past his jaw, framing a face of sharp angles and brutal beauty. A scar traced a pale line from his temple to his cheekbone, but it was his eyes that stopped her heart. Amber and bright as molten metal, with pupils that seemed to contract and expand as he studied her. Not human eyes, something else entirely. "You can come out now, little runaway." His voice was low, rough, carrying a northern accent. "I've known you were there since the moment you climbed inside." Ilara's body refused to move. She lay frozen among the firs, staring up at the man whose lupine gaze pinned her in place. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her limbs had turned to stone. "I said, come out." His tone carried no anger, only cold command. When she still didn't move, he reached into the wagon. His grip on her arm was surprisingly controlled as he pulled her from the firs and set her on the ground. Her bare feet touched cold earth. The servant's cloak had fallen open, revealing the ruined wedding gown beneath silk stained with dirt, seed pearls scattered and missing. His gaze traveled over her slowly. Curiosity flickered in those wolf-bright eyes. "A bride," he observed, "running from her wedding. Please." The word came out cracked. "I'll give you anything. Just don't take me back." "What makes you think I intend to take you anywhere?" She blinked. "I hid in your wagon. You must be angry." "Angry?" One dark eyebrow arched. "I'm curious. There's a difference." Ilara became aware of their surroundings. They had stopped in a forest clearing, far from any road. The other wagons were nowhere in sight. Only this single wagon, the man before her, and ancient trees pressing close. "We're alone." She reached out with her gift, trying to sense what lay beneath this stranger's calm exterior. She felt almost nothing. That had never happened before. Every person she'd encountered radiated emotion like heat, but this man was like touching a wall of ice, cool, impenetrable. "You're trying to read me." It wasn't a question. Ilara's blood went cold. "I don't know what you mean." "Don't lie." "I can smell a lie as easily as I can smell your fear." He stepped closer, and she stumbled back until her shoulders hit the wagon. "And you, little runaway, reek of both." "Smell?" She truly looked at him. The unnatural stillness, the way his head tilted, listening to sounds she couldn't hear, those inhuman eyes. "What are you?" she whispered. A smile curved his lips, holding no warmth. "Something your southern lords use to frighten children. I am the monster in the north, the northern territories, the wolf lords, tales whispered by servants of men who could become beasts, who ruled the frozen lands with savage brutality. You're one of them," she breathed. "The Valkyrin. I'm not one of them." His eyes burned into hers. "I am their king." The world tilted. Ilara's knees buckled, and only his hand catching her elbow kept her upright. She had escaped one monster only to climb into the den of another. "Easy." His grip steadied her. "I have no interest in harming you." "Then let me go." "Let you go?" He gestured at the forest. "We've traveled 50 miles. These woods are filled with things far worse than me. You wouldn't survive an hour. 50 miles. She had been hidden far longer than she realized. "Why didn't you stop sooner?" Fear sharpened into anger. "If you knew I was there, why let me come this far?" Something shifted in his expression. "Because you were running from something, and I wanted to know what could frighten a woman enough to make her climb into a stranger's wagon in her wedding dress." Of all the answers she expected, that was not one of them. "Lord Draven Ashford," she said. "He was to be my husband." The change was immediate. The Wolf King went utterly still. "Ashford." The word was a growl. "You know him?" "I know what he is, what he does to the women he marries. 3 wives, all dead within a year." His gaze raked over her face. "You were wise to run." Ilara felt sick. She had suspected Draven was dangerous. She had not known he was a murderer. "What happens now?" she asked. The Wolf King studied her for a long moment. "You have a choice," he said finally. "I can leave you at the next village. You'll be 100 miles from home, with no money and no protection. Or you come with me to the north, work in my household. No one will touch you there, and Ashford's reach does not extend into my territory." Ilara's mind raced. A village full of strangers who might sell her back, or the den of the Wolf King. But he let me come this far when he could have thrown me out. She reached out with her gift again, pushing harder against that wall. For an instant, it cracked, and she felt something that made her breath catch. Loneliness. Vast and ancient. Then the wall slammed back into place. "You have a dangerous gift, little runaway." "Ilara." She lifted her chin. "My name is Ilara." That almost smile returned, warmer this time. "Ilara," he repeated. and the sound of her name and his rough accent did strange things to her pulse. "I am Kale, and you still haven't given me your answer." She looked at the dark forest, then back at the Wolf King with his impossible eyes. "I'll come with you," she said. They traveled north for 3 days. Kale had given her a proper cloak, thick gray wool lined with fur. He provided dried meat, hard bread, and a water skin he refilled at every stream. He did not touch her again. He barely even looked at her. During the day, Ilara rode in the wagon while Kale drove, his broad back a silent wall between them. At night, he made camp with efficient movements, built a fire, and disappeared into the darkness for hours. She knew what he was doing. She could hear it, distant howls answered by others. He was running with his kind, shedding his human form for something wilder. Ilara should have been terrified. Instead, she found herself straining to hear those howls, feeling an inexplicable pull toward the sound. "Something is wrong with me." On the 3rd night, Kale returned earlier than usual. Ilara was sitting by the fire, wrapped in her cloak. She heard his approach and looked up to find him at the edge of the firelight. He was shirtless despite the cold, his torso marked with scars that told stories of battles survived. His dark hair was damp, clinging to his jaw, and his eyes seemed brighter, more wild. "You should be sleeping," he said. "I can't." Ilara hugged her knees. "I keep dreaming of him, of Draven." Kale settled onto the fallen log across from her. Flames painted shadows across his face. "Tell me about these dreams." Something about the darkness loosened her tongue. "They're not normal dreams. I see things, feel things. Sometimes they come true." She had never admitted this to anyone. "I knew my grandmother would die 3 days before it happened. I saw it while sleeping." His expression didn't change. "You're a seer." "I don't know what I am." Ilara's voice cracked. "I thought everyone could feel what others felt. I didn't realize I was different until I started speaking about it in my father." She stopped. "Your father what?" "He beat me, told me I was cursed, that if anyone found out, they would burn me as a witch." The fire crackled between them. When Ilara looked up, Kale was watching her intently. "In the north," he said quietly, "we don't burn people for their gifts. We honor them." The words hit her like a physical blow. Honor. She had spent her entire life hiding this part of herself. "Why are you being kind to me?" The question escaped before she could stop it. Kale was silent for a long moment. "Because I know what it is to be treated like a monster for something you cannot control." He met her eyes across the flames. "Because I recognize the loneliness in you. It mirrors my own." The air between them changed, charged. Ilara felt her heart beating in her throat. "Kale." A howl split the night, close and urgent. Kale was on his feet instantly. "What is it?" Ilara scrambled upright. "Riders." His nostrils flared. "Coming fast from the south. 50 men, maybe more." Her stomach dropped. "Draven. He sent hunters." His eyes had brightened further, pupils narrowing to slits. "They'll reach us within the hour. Then we run." "No. If they catch your scent, they'll never stop." He stepped closer, and the look in his gaze made her breath catch. "There's only one way to protect you now." "What way?" "My mark." His voice dropped to barely a whisper. "If I claim you as pack, my scent will cover yours. They'll smell only wolf." "Claim me? What does that mean?" His jaw tightened. "A bite. Here." He touched the junction of his own neck and shoulder. "It's how we mark our own." The howls were closer now. Ilara could hear hoofbeats in the distance. "Do it," she said. "Ilara, you don't understand. I understand that Draven will do far worse if he catches me." She tilted her head, exposing her throat. "Do it. Now." Kale made a sound low in his chest. His hands gripped her shoulders, steadying her. "Forgive me," he whispered. Then his head dipped, his lips brushed her neck, and his teeth sank deep. Pain exploded through Ilara's body. She screamed. The sound caught in her throat as fire raced through her veins. Kale's arms wrapped around her, holding her upright as her knees buckled. But the pain was already changing, becoming heat that spread from the wound through her chest, her limbs, her core. She gasped, fingers digging into his bare shoulders. His tongue moved against her skin, warm and rough, sending lightning down her spine. She heard herself make a sound she didn't recognize, raw and desperate. Then Kale pulled back, breathing ragged, eyes wild. "It's done," he managed. Ilara swayed in his arms. She could feel something new inside her, a thread of connection linking her to this man. "What?" She couldn't form words. "Sleep now." Kale lifted her easily. "Your body needs to adjust. The riders will find nothing but wolves." His voice was the last thing she heard. "Sleep, Ilara. You're safe now." Ilara woke to voices speaking in an unfamiliar language. Her body felt strange, heavy, and light at once. She tried to open her eyes, but her lids refused. So she lay still, letting the words wash over her. 2 women. Their tones suggested concern, perhaps argument, and beneath their voices, she could feel something she had never experienced before. Their emotions. Vivid, overwhelming worry and curiosity pressing against her mind like hands against glass. What's happening to me? Ilara forced her eyes open. She lay in a grand bed draped in furs. Stone walls surrounded her, hung with tapestries depicting wolves beneath silver moons. A fire crackled in an enormous hearth. 2 women stood near the doorway. The elder approached. Her weathered face creased with cautious interest. Silver hair was braided with small bones and beads, and her eyes were the color of pale winter ice. She wakes. The woman pressed a cup to Ilara's lips. I am Yrsa, keeper of the old ways. You've been unconscious for 4 days. 4 days. Ilara's hand flew to her neck, finding smooth skin marked only by a raised scar in the shape of teeth. It healed, she breathed. The mark always heals quickly. Yrsa's pale eyes studied her. What hasn't healed is the damage within. Your body is fighting something it doesn't understand. What do you mean? The claiming bite is not meant for humans. It should have killed you within hours. Yrsa leaned closer. You carry something within you, a power that burns like a second heartbeat. Ilara's chest tightened. Her gift. Even here, it marked her as other. I've always been able to feel what others feel, she admitted. My father called it an abomination. Recognition flickered in Yrsa's expression. A soul reader, she murmured. Your kind were once revered among our people. This explains much. Your gift is fighting the transformation, trying to protect you, but in doing so, it's tearing you apart. Transformation? Ilara's voice rose. What transformation? The chamber door burst open. Kale stood in the doorway. He looked different, harder, colder, every trace of kindness erased beneath rigid control. He spoke to Yrsa sharply. She replied with equal force, gesturing toward Ilara. Their argument escalated until Kyle silenced her with a snarled word. Then he turned to Ilara. You're awake. His voice was flat, empty. Kale, what's happening to me? Rest. Yrsa will explain. He was already turning away. Wait, but he was gone, the door slamming behind him. Ilara stared after him, confusion and hurt warring in her chest. Don't take it personally, Yrsa said gently. The king carries a heavy burden. What he did to save you. There will be consequences. What consequences? The claiming bite is sacred. It's how we mark our mate's life partners bound until death. By marking you, Kale has declared you belong to him. Mates. The word landed like stone in water, but he only did it to protect me. Intent doesn't matter. The bond doesn't care why it was formed. Yrsa's eyes held something like pity. And now that bond is incomplete. If it remains one-sided, it will eventually destroy you both. Destroy us? The incomplete bond will drive you mad with longing. You'll feel his emotions as your own. The hunger will grow until it consumes everything. When your body can no longer sustain the strain, you will die, and he'll feel you die. Most don't survive that grief. Ilara's hands trembled. Even now, she could sense Kale rage, guilt, and something darker. How do I complete the bond? You would have to bite him in return. But you're human, and even if you could, the transformation required would almost certainly kill you. There must be something. Yrsa was quiet for a long moment. There is one possibility. You would have to become one of us. Her pale eyes met Ilara's. Become a wolf. 3 days passed, and Kale did not return. Ilara grew stronger, though stronger felt wrong. The incomplete bond pulsed constantly beneath her skin. Her senses sharpened. She could smell herbs from across the room, hear conversations 2 floors below. And the emotions. They crashed against her gift like waves. But threading through everything was Kale. She could feel him constantly. When he was angry, her blood ran hot. When he was grieving, her chest felt hollow. But he never came to her. He's avoiding me. Stop pacing, Yrsa said. You'll wear a hole in the floor. Ilara halted. I can't help it. This feeling won't let me rest. It's worse when he's near. The bond grows stronger each day. Your souls are trying to find each other. Yrsa paused. The king stays away for your protection. His wolf recognizes you as its mate. Every moment near you, it fights for control. Ilara pressed her palm against her chest. Beneath Kale's rage and guilt, there was something else. Want, hunger, need. I need to see him, she said. That would be unwise. I don't care about wise. She expected Yrsa to argue. Instead, the old woman sighed. North Tower, third staircase on the left. But be careful. The wolf is closest to the surface when emotions run high. Ilara slipped through the door. The North Tower was colder than the rest. Wind whistled through gaps in the stonework. She climbed until she reached a heavy wooden door banded with iron. She could feel him on the other side, anger, despair, and that terrible want. She knocked. The door swung open. Kyle looked like he hadn't slept in days. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His hair was disheveled, his scarred torso bare. You shouldn't be here. His voice was strained. And yet here I am. She stepped forward. He stepped back. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Nothing? I can feel everything you're feeling. Did you think I wouldn't notice? His jaw tightened. What I feel is not your concern. It became my concern when you sank your teeth into my neck. She moved closer. Yrsa told me what happens if we don't complete the bond. Fear flickered in his gaze, not of her, but for her. The transformation would kill you. I've watched 3 humans attempt it. All 3 died screaming. So instead you'll let us both go mad? Ilara followed him to the window. That's not protection. That's cowardice. He spun to face her. Wildness in his eyes. The amber had brightened to molten gold. Cowardice? I am trying to save your life. By staying away? By torturing yourself? She pressed her palm against his chest. His heart hammered beneath her hand. I didn't ask you to sacrifice your sanity for mine. If I complete the bond, you'll be tied to me forever. Bound to a life in the frozen north. Surrounded by wolves and war. I was bound to a monster before. Draven would have destroyed me piece by piece. She paused. But you looked at me and saw a person. Just me. Kael closed his eyes. She felt the war inside him, duty against desire. Ilara. Her name was a broken whisper. I'm not afraid of becoming like you. I'm afraid of losing you before I ever really had you. His control shattered. One moment they were standing apart. The next she was pressed against stone with his mouth claiming hers in a kiss that stole her breath. He kissed her like a drowning man finding air. The bond between them blazed, no longer a thread but a rope of fire. She felt his emotions crash into her. Need, reverence, love. Kael tore himself away, stumbling backward, shaking. No, not like this. Not until you understand. His haunted eyes met hers. There are things you don't know. About why Ashford wants you dead. A chill ran down her spine. What truth? The reason Draven hunts you isn't just possession. It's revenge. Against me. He paused. Draven's first wife was my sister. The revelation hung between them like a blade. Your sister, Ilara whispered. Kael turned away, bracing his hands against the windowsill. Sarah, the youngest of us. She believed peace between wolf clans and southern kingdoms was possible. That marriage could build bridges. His laugh was bitter. I begged her not to go, but she was stubborn. Ilara felt his grief, a wound that had never healed. What happened? For 3 months, her letters were hopeful. Then they stopped. His hands tightened on the stone. I found her body in a ravine. They claimed she'd fallen while riding. But she didn't fall. No, she was thrown. After he finished with her, Kael faced Ilara. I saw the marks, the bruises. She had given up her wolf to marry him. Without it, she couldn't heal, couldn't fight back. Nausea roiled in Ilara's stomach. The man she'd nearly married had murdered this woman. Why didn't you kill him? I tried, but Ashford surrounded himself with silver weapons and holy men. The Southern King granted him protection. His lips twisted. I've watched him for years, waiting for a mistake. Then you climbed into my wagon. The implications crashed over her. You knew who I was from the beginning. I smelled Ashford's mark on your belongings. His expression was unreadable. I wanted to understand why he chose you. A cold knot formed in her chest. So, I was a piece in your game. At first, the admission was quiet. But that changed. You changed it. When? The first night, when you told me about your gift. He stepped closer. I saw Sira in you, the same courage, and I knew if I let Ashford take you, I'd condemn another woman to the same fate. She wanted to rage at him, but she could feel his truth, guilt, grief, the desperate need to protect her. You should have told me. Would you have trusted me? She couldn't answer. Draven knows you're here, Kael continued. He's gathering an army, silver weapons, wolfsbane. He's not coming to reclaim his bride. He's coming to destroy everything. How? The incomplete bond. If he captures you, forces you to reject me publicly, the backlash could kill me. If he can't capture you, he'll kill you instead. Kael's expression hardened. Either way, he destroys the Wolf King. There has to be something we can do. There is. Complete the bond before he arrives. You'll have the strength of a true wolf mate. The transformation you said would kill me. The odds are against you. Perhaps 1 in 15 survive. He met her eyes. But if you don't try, Draven uses you to destroy us both anyway. Ilara felt the choice pressing down. Near certain death attempting transformation, or certain death at Draven's hands. Some choice. But reaching for Kale through the bond, feeling his fear for her, his desperate hope, she realized the choice was already made. When? Tomorrow night. The blood moon rises. Your chances are highest then. One day. One day to prepare for a ritual that would probably kill her. And yet, standing in the cold tower with the Wolf King watching her, Ilara felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Then we should stop wasting time, she said, and close the distance between them. This time, when she kissed him, he didn't pull away. The blood moon rose over Valdris like a wound in the sky. Ilara stood in the sacred grove, surrounded by ancient stones that hummed with power. Torches flickered in a wide circle. Beyond the firelight, dozens of wolves watched from the darkness. Kale stood before her, stripped to the waist. Symbols had been painted across his chest, words in the old language. You don't have to do this, he said. We can find another way. There is no other way. She touched his face. You've spent 10 years trying to destroy Draven. Let me help you finish it. If you die, then I die fighting for something I chose. Yrsa approached with a stone chalice. Drink the moon water. It will weaken the barriers between your soul and the wolf spirit. Then Kale must bite you again deeper to force the transformation. And if my body rejects it, you will die. Quickly, if we're fortunate. Ilara's hands trembled as she accepted the chalice. The liquid was impossibly cold, smelling of iron and ice, and something wild. I'm ready. She drank. The moon water burned, spreading through her chest like frozen fire. Something stirred inside her, something dormant since Kale's first bite. Kale. Now. He caught her as her knees buckled. His mouth found the scar on her throat. I'm sorry, he whispered. His teeth sank deep. The pain was beyond anything she'd experienced, like being torn in half. She screamed, the sound more howl than human. Let go, a voice whispered. Stop fighting. Let me in. The wolf spirit, pressing against barriers her gift had built. Her power flared, trying to protect her. But accepting meant surrendering everything. Is that terrible? The wolf's voice was gentle. You have spent your life hiding. Let me free you. Through the agony, she felt Kale's emotions flooding the bond. His fear, his prayers. Please let her live. Take anything. Just let her live. He loved her. Not as a weapon, not as a replacement. He loved her. Yes, she told the wolf spirit. Make me whole. She stopped fighting. Bones cracked and reformed. Muscles tore and rebuilt. Fur sprouted across flesh, no longer entirely human. The pain was immense, but beneath it, power. Ilara threw her head back and howled. When she opened her eyes, the world had changed. Colors sharper, sounds clearer. She looked down and saw silver-white fur covering 4 powerful legs. I survived. A massive black wolf stood where Kale had been. He approached slowly, nose brushing her muzzle. My heart. You're beautiful. Before she could respond, a horn blast shattered the silence. Beyond the grove, torches moved through darkness, an army approaching. Draven. Kale's voice turned to ice. He's early. Fury surged through Ilara's new wolf spirit. Then let's end this. They ran. The pack fell in behind them, a river of wolves flowing through moonlit forest. Ilara's new body covered ground that would have taken her human form hours. They reached the battlefield as Draven's army crashed against the castle walls. Chaos reigned. Silver arrows flew. Wolfsbane smoke billowed. Wolves and soldiers clashed brutally. And there, at the center, mounted on a midnight stallion, was Draven Ashford. With her wolf senses, she detected what her human self had only sensed as wrongness. Darkness clung to him like a second skin, ancient, corrupted. He's not fully human, Kale's voice cut through. He sold himself to the shadow. Draven's gaze found them. His lips curved with malice. He raised one hand, darkness gathering like smoke. There you are, my little runaway. The shadow strike came without warning, not aimed at her. It hit Kale full in the chest, sending him crashing to earth. Black tendrils wrapped around his wolf form, burrowing into flesh. Kale! She felt his agony through the bond shadow poison spreading through his veins. Fitting, Draven dismounted, walking toward Kale with leisurely confidence. The same poison that killed Sira. He drew a silver dagger. But you get to watch your mate die first. Something snapped inside Ilara. Not the bond. something older, the gift she'd hidden since childhood. It roared to life. Golden light exploded from her wolf form. Not just illumination, soul fire burning with combined strength of human gift and wolf spirit. Soul reader, Yrsa had called her. But she understood now. She could also write. Ilara reached into Draven, past shadows and corruption, down to the twisted core, and she burned it. Draven screamed. The shadows ignited, consumed by golden fire. He thrashed, clawed at himself, but there was nothing left to summon. Her light had found every shadow and turned it to ash. When the fire faded, there was nothing left but a scorch mark. Ilara collapsed, her wolf form flickering. She had given too much. Kale. She dragged herself toward him. Shadow tendrils were dissolving, but he was fading. The poison had gone too deep. She shifted back to human form, the cold air biting her bare skin, and crawled to where he lay, gray with spreading corruption. Stay with me. She pressed her hands to his chest. You don't get to die. His eyes fluttered open. Ilara, you need to complete the bond, still incomplete. She understood. Ilara leaned down, finding the junction of his neck and shoulder. Her human teeth weren't made for this, but her gift was. She let golden light flow through her mouth, her jaw, her will, and she bit down. Kale arched beneath her as soul fire flooded into him, burning away poison, rewriting corruption with light. The bond between them solidified, no longer fire but a bridge of gold. Mine, she thought fiercely. You are mine. Yours, came his response. Stronger now. Always yours. My heart, my soul, my mate. When Ilara pulled back, his eyes blazed pure gold. You saved me, he breathed. You saved me first. Around them, the battle had ended. Draven's army had scattered. The wolves of Valdris howled in victory. But Ilara had eyes only for the man beneath her. So what happens now? She asked. Kale reached up to touch her face. Now we live, he said. Together. He pulled her down for a kiss. And beneath the crimson moon, Ilara finally understood what she'd been searching for. Not escape, not safety, not even love. She had found where she belonged, and she was never running again. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story. A big thank you to everyone who's following. Your support truly means the world to me.